Team Lotus, which was previously known as Lotus Racing, is about to embark into its second year in Formula One, under the helm of Tony Fernandez, the man who brought us Air Asia. We have been invited and given access into the team's factory in Norfolk, UK, to give a sneak peek on what happens behind the scenes of a Formula One team. This factory, which was once occupied by Bentley's Le Mans outfit, is now capable of designing and manufacturing a complete Formula One chassis, right from scratch, something it is working on for the 2011 car. This is thanks to various state-of-the-art machines and equipments, including a 1.2 million pound supercomputer which covers all the needs to build a Formula One car, as well as an autoclave, which is a giant baking machine for composite components. The factory can also manufacture other vital parts and components, leaving only few to be outsourced, including the engine, the transmission, the brakes, and so on. Categorized as a Malaysian team, Team Lotus is 220 strong and has 30 Malaysians in its payroll, where 8 of them are engineers in the design office. The team also operates the Air Asia GP2 team, which will start its campaign next year. This team will act as a staff and driver feeder to the Formula One team. During our visit, we also managed to spend some precious time with the team's drivers, Italy's Jarno Trulli and Finland's Heikki Kovalainen. We also interviewed the team's Chief Technical Officer, Mike Gascoigne.
You have been regarded as the unlucky one in Lotus Racing this year. With a lot of retirements, mainly due to mechanical. What do you have to say about that?
I think I have gained the medal of the most lucky driver of the season, probably. And only at the end of the season, I went back to count how many failures I've had. And the numbers is impressive. I didn't really count it during the season. I was not really taking care of it. But at the end of the season, I've counted something like 15 failures out of 19 races. So it was impressive. It has been so far my worst season ever, all my life, all my career. And it's really down to bad luck, because honestly, Heikki hasn't had so much trouble. He was able to finish races and complete races with the car in perfect form. But on my side, it seems that I had to get all the bad luck. So I don't mind, because anyway, I knew that the 2010 would have been a difficult season. And I always took it as a transition season. What really mattered for me is the 2011, especially because also Tony Fernandez has put together a very good package, like engine and gearbox, that will make us looking very good for next year. So I want to forget the 2010 and move on to 2011, because it's the season where we can really start fighting.
Do you think it was because of different driving styles? Will that
No, nothing to do with driving style. A recurrent problem, hydraulic, which failed most of the time. I would say 90% of the time. So nothing to do with driving.
You're also, even with other teams, you're famous for putting on a very strong qualifying performance, one lap wonder. And why do people say that? Do you think that you are better during qualifying, and when during race your performance drops? Is there such a thing?
Well, it drops the performance if you have bad luck and your car fails. That's for sure. You have less chance of failing during a one-lap qualifying than a 60-lap race. That's the main issue. And this has been one of the trouble this year as well. Often, even though this year I've had a lot of troubles in qualifying, but again I was able to prove my speed more in qualifying than in the race, because in the races after 15 laps probably my race was already over.
Can you share with us what's the future for you in Formula One now that you've competed for a very long time? Do you still see yourself racing for a couple of years?
Well, apart this 2010 season, which I took it as a transition season, I'm gonna face 2011 like a big challenge for me and for the team, because we want to deliver, we want to get the results, we want to score points, and I think if we can do that, it will be great. It will be great for me as well as for the team, because anyone needs motivation, a team as well as a driver. and I was happy to really put the 2010 back in my shoulder, but now I'm really focusing on 2011 because I miss racing, I miss the fighting, I miss the challenge, and this is what I'm looking for next year.
Do you see Lotus Racing achieving what Red Bull did?
It will take time. If we look back at what Red Bull has been able to do with the resources they had from the beginning, it just shows you how tough it is, the Formula One business, and how long it might take. For some people, you know, it never happened. Like, you know, I raced for Toyota. They had great resources, unlimited resources, and they never achieved what they wanted. They were never capable of producing a winning car despite the resources. So it just showed that how tough and how difficult is the Formula One business. So I think Team Lotus and Tony are extremely committed, but they need to understand that it will take some time before they can you know, reach the top. Even though I think now already for next year Tony has done a good job because I put a very nice package together, you know, gearbox and engine, which make me feel confident.
What you didn't like about this year's car, apart from it?
Yeah, I mean, reliability obviously, but especially at the end, once I have sorted things out, the car was more drivable and better, and I was capable of driving it and pushing it to the limit. While at the beginning I was suffering a lot with the power steering and with the front suspension, and you know, with several stuff which obviously we couldn't fix. But I hope that for next year we have more tools to work and more reliability and definitely more speed.
You have tried out the Pirelli tires. What do you have to say about them?
They are very different from the Bridgestone, so we need to expect a change in the trend, a change in the performance, a change in the characteristic, and as well we need to change our car. So we collect some data, but probably it's not enough. So it's going to be interesting because during the winter testing in February, we need to quickly find out what's right and what's wrong in the car, and we need to react in order to be ready for the first race.
What do you hope to accomplish with Lotus Racing next year?
I think the objective is to try to be in the top 10 and finish top 8. Obviously, this is only at the moment a dream, which we have to turn into reality. And given the package we have, we can do it. But now I would say it's all in our hands now, and in engineers' hands during the winter in order to develop, build, and design a car, which has to be quick and reliable. And then it's up to us, driver, to deliver the result on track. But first we need a competitive car. So I'm confident, but I'm always very realistic. So at the moment it's hard to say we're gonna be there. I can be certain and tell you that we're gonna be much better than the 2010. We're gonna be much closer to the top teams. But where we are going to be, it's for anyone impossible to say now. I feel we have the package to be in that position, around the 8th in the Constructor Championship. But if you want to do that, we can also do better. But it's down now to in the engineer's hands during the winter time in order to develop the car dynamically and make sure that the car is safe enough and it's all well built together in order to deliver a good result.
What are your comments on this whole issue regarding using the name Team Lotus and Lotus Renault coming in next season, the possibility of that?
But honestly, it was none of my business. I've been following it. I didn't ask much to Tony or anyone in the team. I'm glad that now we kept the name. I think fans in general recognize this team as the real Lotus team. And then the only thing I can say is that I'm happy that we kept the name. First because Tony was brave enough with everybody in this team to take this team and the Lotus name back in Formula 1 after 16 years. And after all his effort and investment, it would be really a big shame if they would have taken it away. Especially because I believe after 1 year we've been established as a Lotus Formula 1 team in this business, and people recognize us, recognize Tony, recognize this team as the real Formula 1 Lotus company, let's say. We're talking about Formula 1 only, so a racing Formula 1 team. No matter the way you want to call it, Lotus team, racing team, Formula Lotus team, no matter, but it seems that Lotus in the past, the Formula 1 Lotus team, has been always something apart from the Lotus group. It was a standing alone company, and this is what it's like now. So I can't say it's right or wrong be called Lotus team now or whatever. I can only say I'm happy that this team, and especially Tony, can keep working as a Lotus team name, and especially can keep writing the story and the history of Formula 1.
Do you think that it will be any different if somehow, if the name is taken away, you have to be called something else? Do you think it will take away the morale of the team members? Will it change anything? Change performance?
In the end of the day, no, I don't think so. It will only be bad, in my opinion, against the spectators and the fans, because honestly, all the fans we have had around the world, they all recognize this team, these people, this driver like a Lotus driver. Now, taking this away, it would be a big shame and would be like a cheat against the fans. Because for 1 year we've been called Lotus team, and then you take it away and the team is still there, people are still there, so what did you say before? What were you doing before? I mean, it would be something like cheating against the fans, and it would be bad. So I really hope, and I think the team is going to be, hopefully going to be called Lotus team for next year, because this is what the people want.
And last question, you have raced for many other teams before this. Is it different racing with this team? Is there a special bond here? Because the moment we walk into this factory, we feel a lot of passion, and
there is many things which makes this team different and special. The name, the place, because this team is born in a Lotus area. This is where all began. And because in a way it's a small team, like it was small in the past, and wants to become again a big team like it was in the past. So Lotus has written history, and I think now Tony with this team want to keep writing story about a Lotus team and Formula 1. So that's why this team is so special.
Okay, we understand that you have been with McLaren before this. So how does it feel getting into such a new team like Lotus and going from the front of the pack all the way to the back?
Well, of course, when I joined the team Lotus, for me it was a decision that was needed. I felt that my previous teams, it wasn't working 100%. I was not being able to perform at the level that I felt that I should have done. So I felt I needed a fresh start, and Lotus at that point looked interesting for me. It looked like a big challenge, but I felt that it's the right place to go, and that's the reason why I decided to join the team. I met Tony and Mike and I felt that this is a serious effort, and since working with them this year, I'm more convinced that it's the right place for me to be, and we have a good future ahead of us. A lot of work to be done, but we were able to achieve the goals that we set for this season, and and it hasn't bothered me too much being at the back of the grid, as long as it doesn't happen for too long time. Of course, I want to move at the grid, and I think we can do that. And ultimately, we want to get back to the front. It's not going to be easy, but if we believe in it enough, I think we can do it.
What are your personal expectations in the championship? When do you plan? Obviously you want to win the Drivers' Championship. When do you think that's coming about?
I think it will take still 2, 3, 4 years. When we eventually get to a point where we are competing in top 10, then it gets very tricky. The top 10 is very, very tough. There's Red Bull, there's McLaren, there's Ferrari, there's Mercedes, and teams that are very, very close together. There's a Renault as well. So the top 10 is very tough. So we still have work to be done to achieve, to get to that point. But once we get there, then it's a full game on. And by then, I think we will have a facility that is good enough to what it takes to be at the front of the grid. And at the moment, we don't have it yet. We need our own wind tunnel, for example. But we are building all the time, and at the same time, getting stronger and getting bigger as a team. And I'm very motivated to work here. And this year, I've enjoyed working here probably more than any other years in Formula 1. So I look forward to the future and look forward to already next year.
So you do see yourself racing with Lotus Racing for quite a while?
Yes, it's possible. It's possible, and at the moment the rate of development and the rate of progress is better than I was expecting. So I'm very comfortable in this team. I enjoy working with these people, with Tony, with Dean, with Nasa, with Riyadh, with all the Malaysian guys, as well as Mike here at the factory. So at the moment I have no reason and no second thoughts at all. If anything, it's more convincing than a year ago that this is the right place to be.
So you do see a Red Bull in Lotus Racing where in a certain number of years, just a few years, it can come up and contend in the championships and all that?
Yes, absolutely. I think this has to be our target, and I think we need to set ourselves high goals. I think certainly myself, I don't want to be just an average team at the back of the grid. We want to get better, and I know, and the people in this team know what it takes and what we need to put in place to be able to do that. And that's why it's very important to keep working flat out all the time and keep pushing, even if the car is not quick enough. Because when we arrive at the point that the car is quick, then we all need to be ready. And I think if we believe it, we can do it. If we believe enough for it, I think we can definitely achieve it.
Back to the car, what you didn't like in this year's car?
Well, it didn't have enough grip, first of all. Overall downforce level was poor, and reliability also was not as good as we wanted, but it was more really down to our suppliers, especially the hydraulic system of the car was very weak. Apart from that, actually the car, in terms of balance, we were able to find quite a good balance in the car, and it was comfortable to drive, but it was just lacking grip, and the lap time every time across the start-finish straight was too slow. It's as simple as that. But anyway, it was a car that was built in a rush, not by our own designers, but another people in Germany, when the team was not even set up yet. So if you look at the starting point, I think it was a good car, a relatively good car to the time that it was given to design and develop, and it still beat the other new teams. So our target was to beat other new teams, and we did that. So we can be pleased about that.
What do you feel about next year using Renault engines, and will that propel you up in the grid?
I think the engine and the gearbox itself is not going to be the main key. You know, we're going to have our own chassis, which is much lighter and much more modern and much generally just much better chassis that is more up to Formula 1 standards. And I think the key element is going to be aerodynamics. And we know that at the moment our wind tunnel is not the best yet. And in fact, our own wind tunnel, we are just starting to build it. So that's going to be crucial for our aero team to do their work at the maximum. So it's probably not going to be good enough yet this year or for next year. But I think it will be a lot better, and I think we can achieve the target that we set for next year. And the Renault engine, Renault Red Bull gearbox, and the whole relationship with Red Bull, I think, is very important for our team. And you know, they are the benchmark at the moment, so I think it will benefit us a lot. And I'm really happy, and it's very positive that the team has taken these kind of decisions. These are the kind of directions that we need to take now if we want to achieve the top. And we've taken that, and we've gone to that route. So it's all positive.
You have tried out the new Pirelli tires. What do you think about them? Is it a bit different than the Bridgestones?
A bit different, but I think not big enough difference to cause a trouble. I think it will cause teams to set up the car a little bit differently. The rear tires seem slightly weaker and the front tires slightly stronger. But in terms of the order where the teams are going, I think will be exactly the same as they were Bridgestones. If you put these tires for this year's car, I think the qualifying results will be similar. Then next year, it depends. Maybe somebody can design the car that is working better for these tires, better than some other teams. But my feeling is that the Pirelli is a kind of company that can make a very good tire, and it will not cause any surprises for any other teams.
Okay, what's your comments on this whole name issue with the team, that Group Lotus may come in and you may not be able to race under Team Lotus and all that? What's your comment?
I think, as far as I understand, we will be able to race under Team Lotus. We have the name. Whether there will be two cars featuring Lotus, then I don't know, and that's not really our problem. If there is, I don't think. I haven't really got very much into that. I've left it to Tony and to Dean and to Neza to sort out, and to Mike. All I'm interested in is how our guy is performing, or whatever we are called. And I think the important point is that the people in our team are still very good people, and as a team we're working very, very well, regardless of what we're called. And I think it's the people that make the team, not the name. So, I mean, I like the Team Lotus name. I like the Chapman family. I think they're great people, and the spirit that they had when Colin Chapman had in his team a few decades ago is similar to what we have here now. So I hope that we could keep that. But if not, I think we still have the same people in the team that make the team. So it doesn't. I don't lose my sleep overnight because of that, to be honest.
So you don't think the passion in the team, the performance of the members of the team will change if, say, it is not green and yellow anymore?
No. We know that we're not going to be green and yellow. We're going to be gold and black.
If it's not gold and black, also no difference at all?
No, I don't think so. People, as far as I can see, and the people that I know in this team, they are here to achieve the good results together. They believe that they can do a job better than the other teams. We can be a more united and a better team than other teams. And I think they're too bothered about what we called. I think generally people love the Team Lotus name and theme and the history of the team and the heritage that the name has. And it would be great that if we could replicate that kind of heritage one day and that kind of results one day. But I think people in this team, they like to work here. They like the atmosphere. They love to work with Tony, with Mike and everyone. So I think, as far as I see, it doesn't matter what we're called.
Would you say that, because you have raced for a number of other Formula 1 teams, Is racing for Lotus Racing different? Do you have like a special bond here? Do you feel something different here? Or is it just like any other Formula 1 team?
No, it's different. It's different. I think Tony Fernandez has brought here. In generally, I think he's brought to Formula 1 a different character, a different kind of feel. You know, he's very humble. He's very open. He doesn't, have any secrets really. He tells people how things are, if it's good or bad. People like him, and people like the employees like him. The people who work for him. He's had that same kind of attitude at AirAsia, and made the AirAsia business and the company very, very successful. And I think it works also in Formula 1. And we're not a corporate team that is full of laws and rules. We are a group of passionate people who want to go motor racing. Who want to go to the limits. Maybe it's not always as clean and as best style as it could be, but we're going for it. And I think that's the reason why people like us. And I think Tony has brought a lot of that to this team, and the people very motivated. People are very motivated to work here the extra hour, to make sure that they do the job as best as they can. And Tony is also very convincing. He's done every single promise that he's promised so far. We are expanding. We are taking the right steps. People can see that, so they like to work for us. And this is very important to the future. For the future, if we want to do good results as a small team, we need to get more out of the people and out of the team than a bigger team. And I think already the first few shows that we did it, and if we believe it enough, we can do it again.
Okay. One last question. This year at Singapore, when the car caught fire, can you run us through how was the experience, and then you had to come out and you saw this big flame and which you had to put out yourself?
Yeah, of course it was. It was a great race. First of all, for me it was a great weekend. I qualified just behind Timo in qualifying, but I knew that it was a good position for me to start the race, and the strategy in the race was perfect. So I was able to jump Timo and the other new teams and the drivers very quickly. And in fact, I was able to lap the Virgin's cars, which was very, very good. The performance was really good in Singapore. And a couple of laps from the end, I was fighting with Michael and with Buemi. And I thought, I will do everything I can to keep them behind me, because it's only 2 laps to go, and we were fighting for a 13th position, I think it was. And then Buemi just touched me a little bit in one corner when I was trying to defend, and it broke a little fuel line at the back of my car. And when I got going again, I could see that there was a fire forming, and just coming at the pit entry, just before the pit entry, I saw there was flames at the back of my car. So very quickly I had to make a decision whether I go to the pits or whether I stay on the track, and I felt that the car in fire at the end of the race, there would be a lot of people in the pit lane, so I thought it's better to stay on the track. I stopped the car in the main straight and trying to find a fire extinguisher. For me, it was not scary. It was not a difficult moment. I was not worried about myself. I was just worried about if other people get burned, if the car explodes. And as soon as I got the extinguisher, I was able to stop the fire, and it was actually a moment that caught many people's eye. Of course it was bad. We wanted to do a good result, and we had a good result coming there, but I think we caught the moment. We took the moment in front of people in the night with big flames. We got some good pictures, and we were quite cool about it. We gained a lot of attention, a lot of respect, and also I gained a new nickname, the Fireman.
The Fireman.
So in the end, it was a positive call.
What do you have to say about Lotus Racing's first rookie year in Formula 1?
I think probably the first message is sort of job done. Getting the entry so late, coming into Formula 1 with only 5 months to set up a Formula 1 team from nothing, I think is sort of pretty unprecedented in modern Formula 1. And I think for all the new teams in Formula 1, you were never going to come in with such short notice and start racing and beating the established teams. It was impossible. So I think 2010 was about two things. One, it was about being the best of the new teams, because that's your direct comparison. Same engine, same gearbox, you know, they're who you've got to go and beat. And I think we were very clear that we said we'd be the best of the new teams, even from race one, even though we had so little time. And we did that. We would finish 10th in the championship, be the most reliable, the best presented of the new teams, and I think we ticked all those boxes. We were a little disappointed with the reliability, with the gearbox and hydraulics, but that was sort of beyond our control. But apart from that, I think we ticked every box. But I think the most important thing about 2010 wasn't on track, it was off track. It was about building the team up here, because it was always going to be impossible to race the established teams in year one, but you're only a new team for 1 year. You know, next year we're an established Formula One team, and we've got to go and race those teams and score points. So the other important thing about 2010 was building this team up. And I think when you look at the announcements we've made in terms of engine partner in Renault, gearbox partner with Red Bull Technologies, the new wind tunnel that we're going to be developing on site, you know, the people coming on board like Mark Smith coming as technical director, you know, I think they're the real important things for next year and beyond. So 2010 was okay, job done, but it was a big step to come from nowhere to being the best of the new teams. To come from being a new team to racing the established teams, that's an even bigger step, and that's what we've got to do next year.
You have worked with different Formula One teams previously, and does working with Lotus Racing, is it different?
I think for me personally it is different. I think the fact that, you know, I helped start this from scratch, you know, with Tony and the shareholders. They were brave enough to back me and the people here to set this team up. So it gives you, you know, a more of a personal feel about the team. I think the fact that, you know, we brought the Lotus name back into Formula One is something fantastic for me. You know, I was born 10 miles down the road, and I went to school at Wyndham College just a couple of miles down the road, and I grew up when Lotus was racing in Formula One and winning races. So to bring the name, to come back to Norfolk, to set up a Formula One team and to bring the Lotus name back into Formula One is personally something that you know, I'm very closely personally involved in, more so than in any other team. And I think the challenge is just greater. We've got three fantastic shareholders with Tony, Din and Nazar. They've supported us, they've invested in us and the team here, and I think you've got a group of people that are very much determined to repay their investment for them. You know, we're a multinational team. I know you'll have met some of the race engineers, you know, Mexican, Italian, French, Germans, you know, and a lot of Malaysian engineers, you know, sitting behind us in the drawing office. So you know, we've got a real good blend here, and we want to repay the shareholders' faith in us and deliver them a fantastic racing car.
How do you think of the performance of Roviano and Heikki this year?
I think, you know, the shareholders were brave enough to make a real statement of intent by employing two race-winning drivers, experienced drivers, not taking pay drivers, and that's, you know, if you do that in your first year, you're certainly going to do it in years 2 and 3. I think the drivers were very brave in that, you know, they were obviously going to step to the back of the grid. They knew that, and that's not easy for any experienced driver, but they had faith in the project, they had faith in Tony and the shareholders, faith in me and the technical team, and now it's time to repay that faith. And I think they did a great job. You know, we were always in 10th place whenever there was a result to get. Heikki or Jarno got it. Jarno had, you know, less luck in the race, but especially towards the end of the season, last half dozen races, you saw the old Jarno back in qualifying, fantastically quick. Car was more to his liking. I think Heikki sort of was reborn this year, really started enjoying his motor racing again after a couple of difficult seasons at McLaren as Lewis's teammate. I think we've got a great balance, they get on well, you know, they push each other. And next year I think we're going to be giving them a car where they can really start going racing and then they'll start repaying our investment in them. Because when we give them a car to go racing, there's two guys who can sort of make that little bit that's going to make the difference, going to out-qualify someone, going to get you into Q2, Q3, going to get you points where maybe you could have finished 11th, but you don't, you get the points. And I think next year it's time for them to repay us.
Do you see switching drivers beyond 2011 or maintaining both of them?
I think stability is always good. I think beyond 2011 we have to see. We've got long-term contracts with both of them, but also we've got Faris as a driver in the team, and we'll have to look at his development as a driver. We've got the GP2 team where we'll be looking to bring in up young drivers. We've got the AirAsia driver development program. We have Nabil driving for us at the straight line testing. So, we'll have to see what happens in the future, but stability is always good within a team, as long as you've got drivers performing at the top level.
Okay, talking about Fairuz, how do you think, how's his current relationship with the team? What is he going to do next year?
I think
his future with the team?
Yeah, we're in discussions with him about the future. He did a good job for us in the P1 sessions. Very difficult. It's very, very difficult now for third drivers in Formula One, because there's not the opportunity to go testing. The sort of reserve driver roles and test driver roles, especially if you're not doing regular P1 sessions at Grand Prix, are very difficult. So, but he did a great job for us. He's a very professional, very likeable young driver. So we'll be sitting down with him and working with him about what he's going to do in the future.
Any new test drivers coming up?
We have to see. We're looking at combining with Team AirAsia in GP2. We're obviously looking at drivers not just to do GP2, but with a view of racing for us and being test or reserve drivers in the future. So that's something I'm sure you'll see announcements of in the future.
Okay, now that the team has secured new gearboxes and engine, where do you think the team will be placed next year on the grid?
I think our aims are very, very clear. And Tony, he's very good at setting ambitious aims, which is good. But we very clearly, target, the teams that finish 6th to 9th, Williams, Force India, Toro Rosso and Sauber. They're clearly where we want to be. Formula One's very close at the moment. We were, probably a second off that, at best a second off that group. We're very confident of closing that up, and we want to be racing in that group. We're targeting 7th or 8th in the championship. I think that would be a fantastic step. But from race 1, we want to be getting into Q2 and sort of racing in that second half, if you like. I mean, I think you've got to be realistic. In 18 months, you're not going to build up a team that's going to go and race Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren or Mercedes for race wins. That's 3 or 4 years down, along the road. But we clearly next year want to be a regular point scoring team. So we have very, very clear aims.
What are your comments on this Team Lotus name issue with Group Lotus, that whole thing?
I think it's a great shame. I think on one level, Tony stressed to everyone that a team is about the people in the team, and whatever we're called isn't going to change what we are as a team. And we've built up that team and the fan base around the world and in Malaysia. We've built up that team, and that isn't going to change. And actually, for me as an engineer, whether you paint it green or black or pink or bright red, doesn't, how fast the car goes in the first test won't be affected at all by what the team called. Having said that, I think we're all intensely proud of what we achieved this year as Lotus Racing, bringing the name of Lotus back into Formula One. That can never be taken away from us. I was born and bred in Norfolk, as I said. To me, it was a great sense of pride to bring the Lotus name back into Formula One. And I think we brought tremendous value to the brand, and I think we want to continue to do that. It is a great brand, it has great heritage, and for me Lotus is about engineering. It's about building, engineering and racing cars. That's what Team Lotus did. It did it in Norfolk, and that's what we've done here in Norfolk, and we'll continue to build and race. You know, was Colin Chapman and Lotus about branding a French car? Was Lotus? I'm not so sure it was. I mean, I think Colin Chapman was one of the great innovators in Formula One, and when he brought sponsorship into Formula One, I think he thought he'd be receiving it, not giving it out. But you know, that's for Tony and the shareholders to work on. You know, as I say, we feel we've got the best shareholders in Formula One. We're very proud to work for them, and you know, we're going to repay them by working hard and designing them a quicker car. They can tell us, they can call it anything they like, and we'll still be doing that job for them. But you know, there is a sense of pride in bringing Lotus back into Formula One.
What do you have to say about the possibility of Group Lotus sponsoring Renault, possibly naming it Lotus Renault and coming in next year?
I think it will be very hard for the fans to understand. And you know, personally, I struggle to see what that sort of major investment, what benefit it gives to Group Lotus for such a huge investment, when effectively they've been having that benefit for free. But you know, the politics of that aren't for me as an engineer to be involved in. As I said, we're intensely proud of what we've done this year. We're proud of where we're going to be as a team. Tony will let us know what that's been. That's cool. But that, you know, I think the one thing is that isn't affecting anything we do here. You know, and engineering-wise, it doesn't affect anything we do. I think the marketing team have got a bit of a bigger job. And one of the things you have to realise in a rebranding exercise, very simple. We can paint a car whatever colour you like in the last week in February and go and race it. But just little things like all the sea freight for the first race goes in January, and that carries all to Bahrain. That carries all the banner systems for the garage, all the furniture for the catering area. Well, all the cushions on the chairs are green and yellow. All the banners are green. If it's not green, you got to repaint them. But they go in a couple of weeks' time. So for the marketing department and logistics, there's a huge job. But how quick the car goes in February won't change 1/1,000,000th of a second.
Will it affect the passion in the team? Because when I come here, I see that they are all proud of this, what they have achieved, like you said. And if the name Lotus is taken away from them, will it affect their morale?
I don't think it will. I think there will be a sense of hurt. I think people don't understand, having put so much effort in and done such a good job, you know, why it would be taken away. But I know all these guys here. A lot of the guys that have come here, moved up to Norfolk, brought their families up here, did so because they wanted to be part of the Lotus project. If the name was taken away, I think there'd be a sense of hurt, and then there'd be maybe a bit of sense of anger and a real desire to get some revenge. So I think one thing you could be sure of, that you know, heads wouldn't go down, they'd lift up, and we'd make sure that we were beating everyone out on the track as soon as possible. So you know, these are all professional guys out here that have all got great experience in motor racing, and I think it would act as a spur to achieve quicker rather than the opposite.
Okay, and if it were to go Group Lotus's way, meaning you can't use the Team Lotus as the team name, any possibilities on other names?
I think thankfully that is the shareholders and the marketing department responsibility. I'll stick to designing the 4,000 parts of motor racing car, because that's a lot easier than trying to work out a new name. But you know, the one thing is, Tony Fernandez, he understands brand and brand value better than anyone in any business. So I think you know, we're you know, I'll leave it to him. You know, that's what he's very good at. So, but it's not something that worries anyone here.
Okay, and back to the wind tunnel. You said that the original plan was to have a wind tunnel soon. So when is that coming along? Is it this year?
No, soon is 2 years' time, 18 months to 2 years' time. You know, we're in the planning stages. The planners are very keen for us to develop the site and working with us, and that's fantastic. But you know, realistically, it's 18 months to 2 years away. But you know, if you look at the example of Red Bull, which just won their first World Championship, it took them 7 years. And they bought an existing team, you know, which was the Jaguar team, which was the Stewart team. So when I was when I went to Benetton to bring Renault back into Formula One, again that was an existing team. We started in 2001 at the back of the grid. You know, we podiums the next year. We won our first race in 2003 with Fernando in Hungary, and they won the World Championship in 2005. So even with an established team that already won the World Championship, it took 5 years to turn it around into a winning team. So you have to take that sort of length of view. So 18 months to 2 years to bring the wind tunnel on site, but we're developing everywhere. So you know, we'll be getting stronger and stronger as an organisation. And don't forget, with the resource restriction agreement in Formula One, you know, the teams that are now 600 people are going to have to come down to 300 people. So they'll be coming down to our size rather than us having to grow up to them. But you've got to have a 5-year plan. The shareholders are very realistic about that. So you know, we've made a good start, but it's very much just the first step along the road.
I think that'll be all.
Okay, thanks very much.
Yourself? Any question?
So in terms of driver, do you have any specific target for the driver?
Not specific target, because ultimately the target depends on the performance of the car. You know, the driver can make a small difference, and you know, ultimately the drivers mustn't make mistakes. You know, they've got to get the best out of the car in qualifying. They've got to be the consistent in the race, and they've got to make no mistakes. But it's not that we say, well, you have to qualify this high or do that, because it's not just up to them. It's up to how quick the car is. So it's our job to give them a quicker car. And I think, you know, we've got two experienced top line performers. So you know, as long as they're matching each other, then you know there isn't any more to come from the car.
Okay. One final question: has the plan of setting up a HQ in Kuala Lumpur, has that been completely scrapped?
No, I don't think it has at all. I think, you know, Tony, when he came into this project, was very keen, even initially, to move everything to KL, and I think I always felt that was going to be impossible. And I think one thing you have to say about Tony and the shareholders, they're very quick learners. And you know, they came into the business, and I think they very rapidly realised that with the amount of specialist support companies you need, and the amount of pool of experienced engineers you have to tap into, you've got to be in the centre of that, and that's in the UK. I still think we want to set something up in KL, possibly at Sepang. I think there's a lot of talent in Malaysia. You see the number of engineers that are sitting outside, but I think some production facilities, you've got facilities like CTRM, and also utilising all the skill sets in the universities. We have close links with UTM, and so I still think we'll be looking at a technology centre in KL. So the plans have rescaled, but I think that's just a function of Tony shareholders realising, learning about the business, realising the strengths of being here, but also, you know, Tony's very keen to put things back into Malaysia, you know, inspire young Malaysian engineers, not just engineers but mechanics, you know, people in PR, marketing. And in fact, this morning we're having a meeting. We're looking at running show car events next year, a lot of which are in the Asian region, and it may well make sense for us to base the show car program out of Malaysia in Sepang. So we would have a small team running that program, hopefully to look at, you know, Malaysian mechanics and that. So we're still very, you know, we're a Malaysian team and we're proud of that. And you know, hopefully in a few years' time you'll see Tony up on the podium getting the winner's trophy and the Malaysian flag being pulled up. But we're very proud of that. So undoubtedly you know, there will be a technology centre in KL.
Okay.